Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a gatefold pop-out card. First thing you want to do is score your paper at 2.5, 7.5, then flip it over and score at 4.5 and 5.5. This paper is 10 by 7 and we're going to make a 5 by 7 card today. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is do all your folds and burnish them really good with your Teflon bone folder, and you're gonna do your mountains and your valleys, so you will make this kind of weird shaped W or M depending on how you look at that, I guess. See there? And that'll be how it stands up. So now we're going to get on to cutting our mats in layers, and I'm using all the paper that came in the Simon Says Stamp June 2020 card kit called Beautiful Butterflies. I just really love this paper. I thought it was so pretty. And one thing to think about when you're looking at the papers to put on this card, what you put on the back is going to fold over and become your front. So you just got to think about what you want to have visible on the front before you open the gate and see what's on the inside. I will have all the mat and layer dimensions over on my blog. Doing this, I discovered when I was writing down all my dimensions, I wrote down one of my mat sizes wrong. And so then I had to scramble and find my last piece of Tim Holtz metallic KRAFT cardstock in the rose gold, and I only had so much of it. Thankfully, I did have one more piece that I could recut that mat with. So, do double check yourself, make sure you're cutting all these dimensions right, because it does consume some paper to do all these mats and layers, but it's really worth it. It turns out really pretty. And I think all in all, it took me about an hour to do this card. And not that this part took any time. This part didn't take any time at all. But the butterflies are going to be what takes a little bit of time. And you'll see those just a little later. But right now I'm just doing all the cutting. And then we'll do all the gluing together of the mats and layers, and then we will glue those onto the card base. And the card base is the yellow that came in the kit, which is Simon Says Stamp Lemon Chiffon. It's a really pretty light yellow. I do want to get more of that. I didn't have any. I had some darker yellow, but I did not have any of this color, and I really think it's a really pretty color, and it so matched the colors in the pattern paper that came in this kit, which are totally beautiful too. They are by Simple Stories, and it's called the Simple Vintage Garden, and it's just really, really pretty. It has a vintage feel, great color palette. There's me consulting my notes there, but then later realizing one of my notes was wrong. But anyway, I did fix it. It's all good, and it came together. So I said here, just gluing down these panels, and then we'll get on to the butterflies. So while I glue down these panels, I am recording this voiceover on Wednesday, June 10th. I think I'm going to set this to go live tomorrow, but it is graduation day. So yes, my son does get a graduation. We're doing it at the new Globe Life Field in Arlington. That's where our Texas Rangers play. And it's their new field, so I'm excited to be able to see that as well, and that we do get an actual graduation. They did severely cut down the number of tickets everybody could have, but that's okay. We still get a graduation, and totally thrilled about that, because I was afraid they were going to not do that. So many school districts did cancel their in-person graduations, and everything else was canceled. So, it's just really didn't make sense to cancel the most important thing of a senior year graduation. So we get to do that tonight. So looking forward to that. All right, one more panel here to glue down, and then we're going to get on to the butterflies. And of course, the stamp set that came with the kit is called Beautiful Butterflies. It is a 6x8 stamp set, and you get tons of really pretty butterflies and lots of great sentiments. Some of them were in the handwriting of Christina Warner, which is always pretty. Inking the butterflies up with the VersaFine ink. It stays wet, so you can put some clear embossing powder on there and get those areas nice and shiny and raised. Makes these so totally beautiful. I like to do this because it just really makes that just really pop. So we will heat set that. I think, or we may just go ahead and stamp the next one. Nope, I'm going to heat set it. That's what was happening. I was heating up my embossing gun. I have an older embossing gun, and I really want one of the new Wagner ones that are heat up fast and get really hot, so it really melts the embossing powder faster and causes less warpage on your paper. But it's hard to get something new when what you have still works. So I'm just trudging along with my old one. Okay, so that one big one is going to be for the belly band on the outside of the gatefold, and then I'm going to mask two together. So I'm going to stamp one, and then I'm going to put a mask on there, and then I'm going to actually I gotta heat set that first, because you can't mask it before you heat set it. So I'm going to put my embossing powder on there and heat set that, and then we'll put a mask on there, and then we're going to do another butterfly that's just kind of behind that one, and that's what's going to be on the inside of our card. That's going to be on the pop out part. And so we'll get that done real quick. Just look like they're flying together. And you don't have to cut out the whole thing. I think I didn't even really use masking paper. I just used a piece of copy paper because this was just, one simple stamping here. So I didn't really need to do, anything fancy there. And so I'm just going to sprinkle on more of this Wow embossing powder. I get the clear in the big bottle. I've had this forever. It'll probably last me forever because as much as I use it, it still doesn't look like I used anything out of it. Okay, so I am using my Tim Holtz embossing glazes for this, and I had two different embossing pens. I tried to buy me a Distress ink embossing pen, but they were out of stock, so I had two. One of them I think is by VersaFine, and the other one is by Ranger. And so I'm trying the VersaFine one first, and I'm just taking my little Nuvo scoop, and I'm just scooping around these colors that I had that I thought went. And I did. There's only 12 out. Well, now 13 out with the new speckled egg, but I didn't get it because it wouldn't fit in my container, because 12 fits in the container. So I did get the speckled egg in the Distress oxide ink pad. But anyway, so I sprinkled those all on, and then I shook off the excess, and now I'm heating it. And it's pretty, but it's very pastel. So I was like, So I went ahead and went to my other two, and now I'm using my Ranger pen. And the Ranger pen did work way better than the VersaFine pen did. I think maybe my VersaFine one was just a little dry, because I've had it forever, and I don't even know when the last time I used it was. And the Ranger one that I had seemed to be a little bit more juicy. So I think there was more sticky ink there to hold on to the embossing glaze. And at first I was being a little bit careful, trying not to get on the black, But then I was like, oh, that's just too hard. And I just went over it and didn't worry about it. And it turned out fine anyway. So sprinkle that on, dust off the excess. You know, it's mixed, so you got to just trash it. And now I'm heat setting this, and this turned out beautiful. Love, 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 love it. I can't wait to do more with these embossing glazes. So now I'm going to go back over the original one that I did, and we're going to redo it and get some more color down. And these are just great. Love them. And so then after that, I just fussy cutted them out. Not my most favorite thing to do. I'm not extremely great at it, but it was good enough for me anyway. First, we'll get things adhered to the inside of the card, and then we will go on to making the belly band. Here are the finished butterflies. So pretty. Love how those turned out. I'm going to stamp some sentiments that I'm going to put on the other inside panels of the card. I have this strip of that yellow left over, and so I'm going to use it to stamp these two sentiments. And I'm just using that VersaFine ONYX black again, so it'll be nice and dark. And I'm just using a stamp block, taking my chances here. And that one did not, my first one did not stamp very good. But I moved it over onto where I have that little white mat stuck to my glass mat, and I think that gave it just enough cushion to help give a better impression on that one. So that one turned out good. And then we will just trim those down, and we will make a mat for those out of the same rose gold metallic paper. Okay, once we get all these adhered together, then we will glue them in the inside of the card, and we'll glue the set of the two butterflies to the pop-out portion of the card. And you just want to make sure that you put glue only down the center of what you're going to pop out. That way you don't have any glue hanging over and run the risk of gluing down the parts that you don't want to glue down, because then that would just ruin the whole effect. So see how that I'm just looking to see where I want it to, my placement and my glue, and put an acrylic block on there to weight that down. It doesn't take very long for that Cosmic Shimmer glue to attach itself, and then we can move right along to the belly band. I did make a mistake on the belly band, so let's talk about that for a minute. You need a piece of paper that's approximately 1 inch by 8 to 12 inches. And, I did make this for the outside of the card too, but we'll talk about this again in a little bit. Remember, I told you earlier I didn't have any more of that lemon chiffon, but I had a little bit of a darker yellow cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and get this trimmed out and mounted with a layer of the rose gold metallic cardstock. And like I said, we'll talk about that again here in a little bit. The belly band. I first made my belly band too tight. You want it tight enough where the band won't slip off, but you want to make sure that it's loose enough where you can take it off and put it back on, with ease. So, I can just say before you glue it, just make sure that it is loose enough to, and see, I marked it with a pencil and everything, but when I bent it over, I just had it way too tight. And I put glue on there, and luckily I tried it right away when I could still get the band. The glue hadn't totally set all the way, and I could still get it off and reposition it a little bit. It did mess up my paper a little bit, but that's where my butterflies glued to, so it didn't matter. It didn't show, but I was able to loosen it up just a little bit, and I burnished it with my little bone folder there. That it worked, and it's all good. It's still extremely tight, but it does work. So I'm just doing a strip of glue just right where the belly band is, So here's a final look at this card. I want to ask everybody out there though, should I attach this to the belly band by gluing this onto the bottom of the butterfly wings? The yellow is not the same color yellow, so I was struggling whether to do that or not, but I kind of like the sentiment, you know, having a sentiment on the front. But here is our finished card. I think it turned out super cute. That's how it stands up. So just let me know what you think. Should I add this to there or not? Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and then I will post the final picture on my Instagram. Thanks for watching.